Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Okay, Films and Stuff. Pete, how are you today?
I am great. How are you?
Oh man, I've been waiting for the last couple days to talk about episode 8 for All Mankind, titled Sands of Eris. And this follows on the big landslide that we had at the end of episode 7 last week.
That's right. The lava tubes on Mars collapsed. Is that correct?
The lava tubes have collapsed. We've got at least one dead cosmonaut, at least one dead astronaut, and Danny and Ed are stuck, buried in Hab 1. Apparently many feet or meters below the surface. There is a race against time for the joint rescue mission by Helios and NASA. Recall our cosmonauts have no equipment, so they have nothing to offer really. And on Earth, you see the cooperation now between the public sector, the private sector. On Mars, you see Danielle taking control of everything and acting like a very competent, calm, cool, and collected leader.
Absolutely.
You see Ed and Danny going through their personal dramas and animosities towards each other. And then we have President, what is Ellen's last name?
Waverly.
President Ellen Waverly, right? Visiting her old love, Pam. Can't give up on her. So where should we begin unpacking?
Let's start on the moon. I mean, by the moon, I mean Mars, right?
So what was your sense of what was going to happen between... I mean, we kind of knew that Danny and Ed were going to be rescued, right? I mean, it seems very unlikely that they could die.
Yeah, and I think this show has also primed us that when characters or when main characters die, they die in spectacular fashions.
Yeah.
They don't die
right?
unceremoniously.
Yeah.
Right? And even if it's not heroic, for example, the same thing when we saw in season 1 with Zeke's death. It wasn't just like he died small, and it was not a big deal. They made a big ado about it. They did the moon burial. It was a thing. And that was quite possibly the least ceremonious death of one of the main characters. So I didn't expect the two of them to die in that hab. That wasn't even in my mindset.
So, true or false, it would have been more spectacular for Ed to have died the prior episode as kind of the hero who saved everybody else's life. Or did you want him to pull through this shrapnel to the gut? He lives.
No, I wanted him to live. This is a running theme for All Mankind for a couple reasons. One, at the moment, we are really down on the number of protagonists that everyone can get behind. Yep. And two, if you eliminate Ed, you're back down to, I believe, your number one problem with this show. Not enough people being introduced. So if we lose the people we already have on this show, then we're digging ourselves in a much deeper hole.
Do the body count now on the missions, right? Yep. We're not sure how many people Helios has, but we see in this episode that they lost Nick. Okay, so Nick is dead.
Wait, was it Nick?
It was Nick.
Okay.
So remember when the guy turned him over, the helmet was cracked.
Oh, the helmet was shattered. That's correct. Yeah.
So Nick is gone. That's one Helios person gone. We lost one astronaut when they tried to save the Russians. Remember that guy got crushed on the outside?
Yep.
Did we lose any other U.S. astronauts in this episode in the landslide? I think we lost one.
I think we were down 2 Helios crew members in this episode.
Okay.
And I think we were down, because remember, one Helios crew member and one cosmonaut make it back through that sandstorm.
Yep.
And I think the implication were there were 4 of them outside. And I think it was 2 Russians and 2 Helios guys. So I think each crew is down 1. And, don't hold me to this because it was not the most, for 2 reasons. A, it was because of the dust storm. It wasn't super clear to see who was who. Yeah. And 2,
we didn't know who was at the drill site.
We don't know who the site is, and who was at the site. Yeah. And 3, and maybe most damningly, the people who are there are kind of non-factors in the story to the point where you're just like, if they die, it's at this stage, they're more damage. Like collateral damage and body count. It's not so much like there's an emotional attachment to
Correct. Them. Right. Except Alexei, right? We did lose Alexei at the end.
Yeah, but yes. So, but what was important about that was he survived, and then we lost him during, because of space madness or space sickness or whatever it was, right? I wasn't very clear. I know that after he comes back on that the second survival thing, he throws up, and I guess he's got some kind of maybe radiation poisoning or something like that. Was it clearly said?
So I had to watch it, not entirely again, but a little bit. And I remember when he and Kelly were in the rover driving out to the rescue site.
Yeah.
He said this one statement that I missed at the time, but when I watched it again, I caught it. He said, "Man, I've got this headache that won't go away."
Yeah.
And that was, when I caught that the second time, I was like, oh, I see how they're setting it up. Like, he's not going to die of the landslide, but obviously,
I didn't think so either.
Yeah.
I thought in terms of quote unquote geological or, environmental disasters, anyone who was going to die pretty much died at the end of last week's episode, at the very first 5 minutes of this week's episode.
Correct.
And the whole point of this week's episode was that no more deaths because of the rock slide.
Yes.
Any other deaths would have been because of story-related incidentals, i.e., radiation poisoning or something. Again, I must have missed it or maybe they didn't, or maybe they purposefully left it vague so that they can expound upon it over the next 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But obviously at the very end of this episode, spoiler alert, we learn that Alexei has passed away. Right? And
so that means there's only 2 Russian cosmonauts left.
Yeah, the commander and the engineer.
4. Yeah. So, you mentioned something very good. We should probably put a marker here. It's possible that this is our next big Mars challenge, is that there's some type of, as you mentioned, space disease or neural disease or something else that the other cosmonauts are going to catch, right? And Alexei was kind of the first one to catch it. Well, maybe this is something that's going to be a bigger problem as we go on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We don't know. The thing is that
I'm not sure if I really believe that, but at least it's worth putting a pin, because that seems to be the way this series goes, is that it's something and you kind of think it's a one-off thing, and then it becomes
and honestly, it could just be something as simple as, he got brain damage or like a hemorrhage in the brain because of the landslide that he was a part of but survived. We don't know. And, I'm being very speculative when I say that. My whole point was that if you didn't die by being physically crushed and exposed to Martian air in the landslide, any death thereafter wasn't going to be primarily because of that. Maybe it's just a contusion or whatever. So that's fine. Or we're not fine, but that's what I mean. So, I'm not saying there is,
it's accepted.
Yeah. I don't think there's like a Mars flu going around or anything like that, so.
So what do you think? So the big ending, right? Or the big thing at the end was, surprise, surprise. We called this weeks ago.
You called this exactly a week ago.
Kelly
is
pregnant.
You called it.
Kelly is pregnant. Yep. We knew this. We saw this happening, right?
Are they going to make this a Russian baby? Are they going to make this a Martian baby? It's crazy.
Yeah.
First of all, I have to say I'm really getting tired of the Russians for this. Okay, you are now down to maybe 2, maximum 3 crewmen.
Yep.
Your ship is gone. It doesn't even exist anymore. You have no equipment. You have no leverage. You have nothing.
Right.
You now know that Kelly is pregnant. And apparently nobody else does, which again, fine.
Or Kelly herself. Kelly herself.
Again, fine. I think that's crazy, but okay. But your instant response to that is, let me tell my commanders on Earth before I talk to people here. Like, how does this work? Like, what is your mindset?
To be fair, they also did mention the Ed. They also said, and her commander.
Okay, that's fine. But my point is that you can't have your... I agree. What is your point is still correct. That you have to inform your people on Earth? You don't have a mission anymore. I'm sorry, but like at this stage,
I think they should defect.
If you start withholding this kind of information, and not just this, but any kind of information, you are at serious risk of Helios saying, here's a tent, here's 10 days worth of supplies, go bugger off. We're not going to host you on our ship anymore.
I mean, do you think that this series is anti-Russian?
I think what they're doing is they're taking the stereotypes and tweaking it to 11.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's not where the show started off, because the show back in season 1 and 2 said, look, we're going to take the stereotypes, but then we're also going to ground them in reality. And so we're going to look at the practical basis, and the practical basis, and we saw exactly that in season 2 when Danielle has the handshake in space with the Russian cosmonauts, right? Orbiting Earth. Because they said, listen, up here, we can do whatever the hell we want. No one's going to stop us. Mm-hmm. We can save the Earth. Literally, we can save the planet from going to this World War III. Mm-hmm. And now it's like they've taken a step. It's like all the cosmonauts have taken a massive step backwards. And to be fair, it's not even just the cosmonauts. It's also like a little bit of NASA and the Americans have taken a step backwards to say, hey, look, let's not amplify xenophobia, but let's all get really worried on or be paranoid on a factor of 11 out of 10, you know? It's just, I don't know. It just feels like a backward step for me, for us to see this kind of subterfuge.
Especially because this is supposed to be an alternate history.
Yeah.
It would be nice to see, for a refreshing change, how closely they work together, and the, camaraderie, which I guess is a Russian word, right? Like, for them. And again, as we said weeks ago, there should be a third party on the moon who's like their joint enemy, Yeah. Like right now, there's not a clear... Yeah, I'm disappointed by that. I know that Kelly being pregnant, and I guess they found out when she volunteered to give her type A blood.
Yeah.
They did a blood test. I don't know what kind of blood test shows. I mean, they have a pregnancy kit in space.
That you can tell, right? Because the hormone levels will be all off. Yeah.
Oh, well done. Good scientific background, Pete. All right. So they know that she's pregnant. Kelly does not. Obviously, it's going to be, one of the refining themes in the future where, it's going to be a joint Vietnamese, U.S., Russian baby, and everyone's going to kind of claim that it's kind of like theirs. Okay, so turning now to Danny and Ed, buried in Hab 1 together. We kind of knew how this was going to play out. Did it meet your expectations? Was it different?
Not.
What did you think was going to happen? You sound so disappointed, shaking your head. What did you think was going to happen?
Honestly, what I was kind of hoping for, and again, this is antithetical to what I'm glad in one side. So we finally see them get to blows, but for the wrong reason. Right? There's a lot of tension in the air, and Ed is kind of blaming himself. He should never have put Danny in this situation. He should never have, it's going to come out that all of this is basically Danny's fault. Right? That the situation they're in right now.
Nick is dead now.
Touche.
Nick is dead.
But maybe this is the wake-up call. Maybe he has a change of heart. Maybe he finally admits to what he has done. And more importantly, he was just about to admit, or it was implied that he was literally just about to admit that he was the other man in the Karen situation.
Great timing on the rescue, yeah?
Yeah. Which, I mean, of course, in terms of soap opera, that's exactly what you'd expect.
I have to say, if I would have written this, I don't know if I would have done this, but I would have at least argued it to you to do this if you were the writer. I would have said, what if these two guys start arguing and one of them chokes the other one and kills them?
That's what I was saying. That's exactly what I wanted. You're absolutely right. What I was kind of hoping for was that the confession happens.
He had shrapnel in his stomach. I couldn't save him. Exactly. He died.
And Danny killed him. And then this opens up the thing where the Russians can say, hey, we did the autopsy. He didn't die of no shrapnel. He died because his windpipe was broken. Yeah. What's going on? And then we get a murder mystery whodunit. Then you have conspiratorial effects.
That is so good. That is so good. Then Danny owes the Russians a favor because they covered. Oh man, that's so good. You just came up with that now?
Yes, and
that's really good.
Because
really good.
Then you eliminate the subterfuge of, do we tell NASA and Russian Space Command of all this nonsense? We make it a local, quote unquote, domestic issue on Mars.
It could have been either way. It could have been Danny killing Ed. It also could have been Ed in now a fit of rage over either the thing he said about Shane or if he would have disclosed Karen.
Yeah.
He would have just choked him and apart from the fact that he just caused this whole mess and he's being an asshole for the last couple episodes, he could have just choked him to death and been like, yeah, like he must have fell on his neck when our hab got turned upside down 5 times with the landslide. That would have, and it would have been better if he would have actually heard the secret about Karen and he just kept it to himself. Or he could have gone to Earth and gotten mad at Karen. Anything would have been open, but I agree. I didn't think either of them would die because, as we said, there's not enough characters the way that it is.
They have plot armor that way, yes.
But if one of them would have killed the other, I think it would have been a much, much better episode. That they open the hab. One of them's distraught. The other person died in their arms. They did everything they could, but here we are.
What are you going to do? Right? Yeah. And then, I think that would have been great. But again, having said that, I think we both recognize that neither of them could die, at least not yet, and certainly not this way.
It also, can I just mention something though? Given Danny's brother's paranoia and disbelief of anything that he's told, if Danny would have died, it would have been super cool then to get his brother as now getting his crap together, turning into like this super sleuth and trying to get to the bottom of what happened to his brother on Mars, right?
Although having said that, I think his brother's in the turnaround. I think this incident is going to get him to turn around.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know, but like he finally confronts Karen.
Yeah.
Calls her out on her shit.
Yeah.
And I was so happy that somebody finally has in 2 seasons, right? Because if there's anyone who deserves Karen. It's her.
Love Karen. She's bulletproof for me.
So
if you could hear eye rolls over a podcast, man,
he finally admits to Karen that he knows that she cheated on Ed with Danny.
Yep.
And he also then digs. So that was the first stab of the knife. But the twist was, you have to tell him. And more importantly, he then goes after her emotionally by saying, why do you do this? Why do you? And she goes, oh, I don't know. He's like, no, I know. It's because you like to use people. And I was like, oh, burn. I loved it. She's finally getting a slight bit of her comeuppance, which is great.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's the other thing that could happen, by the way. Yeah. What could also be interesting is, in the next episode, if Karen admits it to Ed, both of them are alive, and then everybody on the ship turns on Danny, and Danny is then forced to ally with the Russians on the side.
That's not bad.
It's not ideal, but what happens is that creates alliances that the two Russians and Danny are then working side to side. It's an uneasy alliance by necessity.
Yeah. Judging by the next episode title, seems like everyone's going to scrap the Mars mission and be like, look, enough damage. You guys all get home now.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they'll do is they'll probably try to grab as many of the samples or whatever they need to do, like whatever things, right? And then they're just going to be like, okay, we're now, we started off with the equivalent of 25 people between the three missions, or 30 people. We're now down to a total of maybe 15 people, right? Because I think we lost 3 or 4 in space. We lost another 3 or 4 on Mars. So, we've lost close to 10 people, where I think they can just be like, let's just make this a joint mission. Let's all jump onto the Helio space station. Remember, because the NASA ship got damaged on entry. Take off.
Yep.
So they'll just be like, let's all just pile into Ed's ship. You've got the space. We'll combine all our resources, all our, not equipment, but all our supplies. And that'll be enough for us to get home. Yeah. But if that's the case, then you just know that there's got to be a few mechanical issues.
Yeah, that's I think I was just going to say that, if they're going to turn around and come home, is that the series finale? And we know that it's not. So then I think your point is right, which is it's got to be then some type of space rescue mission, right? They've got to say, look, enough is enough. We've got to come back home. Their engines burn out or something. They hit an asteroid, right? And they say, okay, now we're all stuck here. We need someone to come get us, right? That's got to be, or they go to the moon and they can only make it as far as the moon or something, right? There's got to be some disaster on the way back.
Yeah, there's got to be something. It won't be a piece of cake. Yeah. It won't just be like, okay, well, we're all going to get in our space elevators, get up to our Halo space station, and then bugger off home. There'll be some complication somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. Be it the Russians doing something internally. And again, even though it doesn't make any practical sense, the show, again, has taken such a step backwards that you can't help but think that, they're going to do something stupid.
This is where I've got a little bit of confusion. Because Dev, right, kind of the founder / CEO / inspiration between Helios, right?
Finally kind of wakes up in this episode, hey?
Yeah, prior to this episode, he had a very clear character. He was the hard-charging, kind of manipulative, very aggressive, he wanted what he wanted. He wanted to be first. He was a little bit impatient. I didn't think that he was a very compelling character. Maybe that's the actor, maybe the material. Mm-hmm. But at least he had a very clear personality if you had to describe him, right?
Yep.
And now this episode, he just turned into kind of this wet noodle, oh, my dad had this bad string of luck and I never told anyone about it. And Karen, don't worry. We're going to do everything we can to save everybody. But then he kind of shifted. He was like, hey, I've got this out of the box idea on how to save them. Let's dig up instead of dig down. And I just felt like I'm really disappointed with him as a character because I feel like he's not a consistent character. Is he this inspirational cult-like leader who just wants results and corporate profits and he's willing to sacrifice everything for that? I can get behind that. Is he now this kind of, oh, my father didn't have all the benefits and he had to drive a taxi and he's kind of sad. I'm just doing this in my father's shadow. Or is he this very smartest engineer in the room who's always got this great idea and he can outthink any problem? I feel like he hasn't been given this coherent personality.
You know what it is? I think it's not that it's not coherent. Actually, I think it's because those 3 or 4 elements of him were introduced in a span of 6 minutes in one episode. And if you think about it, the equivalent of him is Margot in NASA in terms of position, maybe not in terms of role, a hierarchy, but in terms of position. He's also the leader, and she's also the leader. But the difference was we had all of season 1 to see the growth of Margot from an intern / junior assistant with clear personality and with clear ability and growth to get from episode 1 to episode 10, where she becomes the head of the NASA program. Whereas Dev is introduced to us as a head, and then we kind of forget about him for 5 or 6 episodes, and then we get all of the info dump that Margot got over 10 episodes in a season, maybe even 20 episodes over 2 seasons, we get out of him in 6 minutes in one episode. And that's probably the problem. It's not so much the conflicting nature. I think it's just that because all of those things individually work, and even together give you a good idea of where his background is and what formed the way he is now. But because we got it so quickly in that one conversation with Margot, where he's kind of sitting there dejected, all of that kind of goes out the window, because like you, I also was like, well, this seems like exposition dump.
Yes. I mean, make him the good guy or the bad guy, right? I mean, he used to be, when we first met him, remember when Karen went to like,
the
I don't
desert,
know why.
Yeah,
like Kenya or somewhere to meet him, like where he was in a tent doing like some rocket testing, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We found him to be this very shrewd founder, entrepreneur, right?
Yep.
Like I liked him then. He's like, hey, I'm shooting for the stars. I'm going to achieve this. We're going to do this. Okay, that was fine. Then, he, over a few episodes, he became like a little bit more aggressive, saying everything's going to be automated. We don't need this. We don't need that. He capitulated a little bit to Ed on the automatic pilot and stuff. He was absolutely, devastated when they weren't the first to land on the moon. Then he was, he wasn't willing to like rescue anyone. Remember when the Russians were in trouble? He didn't rescue anyone. And now, he's had this like sad little thing to Margot. And Margot's never been a good listener. She's never been sympathetic. She's never been anything.
Exactly.
I'm surprised he did that. I mean, he just seemed to take a big step forward. And then he just comes into nowhere like, hey, guys, I solved the problem. I'm Elon Musk. Let's dig up, not down. And
let's think outside the box, right? I mean, and so it seems a little disjointed. Everything seemed a little disjointed with him. And I think it's not that the stories are not correct, or I think it's just the pacing of the stories. Yeah. If we were kind of introduced to this over the course of the season, if in that first meeting where he introduces himself to Karen, he says, do you know why I'm like this? It's because my father was like this.
Aha. Exactly. And then at least we have a little bit of sympathy. Exactly. We know where he's coming from, why he's... In this episode, it made no sense.
It made no sense this late in the game to introduce these elements of sympathy when he's already shown over the last 5 or 6 episodes to be like a cruel, heartless guy.
Yeah.
It's hard to forgive after the fact. Yeah. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying it's hard to forgive after the fact when the thing seems so cruel. I don't want to save these people. Yeah. I want to take control away from Ed. I want to make sure that people do what I tell them to do. Oh, I'm like this because my dad was, this, or because of my upbringing. I'm sorry, buddy. Start the other way.
I agree. You're right on that. And also, I feel like, once again, there's kind of a missed opportunity here. It would have been more interesting if you would have said, hey, guys, NASA is going to take care of the rescue mission. I need you guys to go back to the site. We still have to save this diamond drill bit, or water is coming out and we've got to like cap it. There should have been like another thing where he said, okay, NASA, that's great. You're doing the rescue mission. Like, we can't just sit here and do nothing.
We're still a private enterprise.
Yeah,
I still have shareholders.
Yes.
That drill bit is worth $20 billion.
Yes.
I got to go do something.
Yes. You know, like, if he would have, like, and then you'd have more drama with Karen. Mm-hmm. He's like, hey, Karen, Ed knew the risk, you know, like, blah, 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 blah. You know, whoever is number 2, you're the commander now. I need you to send a team. I've got to get this water. I've got to get this thing. Or now's the time that we've got to do like a scan of these lava tubes. Like,
oh my God. Or he goes to the Russian engineer and says, listen, they cut me out of the auto, of the auto controls. I'm giving you $50,000 or $1 million. I want you to go and make sure that you can unhack their hack.
$1,000. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, these are the kinds of things that a quote unquote cutthroat CEO that he portrayed himself as over the whole season would do, right? Which is to say, hey, look, this is a tragedy, but this is also an opportunity. And what a good cutthroat CEO does, not just in fiction, but in real life is, they take the opportunity out of every tragedy, right?
Yeah. And it would have been great then. Margot could like shout at him saying, you don't care. You have no value for human life, blah, 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 blah. He says, okay, great. Here, I'll fix your problem right now. Dig up, net down. You've got the blueprint on how to do it now. I'm out of here.
Yeah. I'm interested in the dollar signs. I'm not interested in anything else because
I fixed your problem.
What? I've got my board. You've got the president of the United States.
Ed is probably dead anyway. He couldn't survive that. We haven't had any signal from
But if you want to go save him,
go
for broke.
Oh, man. How is it possible every week we write a better episode?
It's,
true.
Hindsight. Everything
absolutely
is
true. It's not hindsight, though. I mean, there are writers for the show. It's not like they write something and then they film it. Like, no one else is coming up with these ideas. And these are actually very, very good ideas to take a show that's already extraordinary and make it, like, blow your mind good.
I think, what we should do is we should start our Films and Stuff consulting service. Because the problem is a lot of Hollywood always has these bad guys or, antagonists who are like business people. But then they show them as like real villains with no depth, right? They're just like mustache twirling bad guys holding bags with dollar signs on it. And they think that's enough. But that is not enough, right? I think our experience in the business world is like, how do you add depth to that villain? Show him the realities of the world. Show the realities of the world that, you've got the board of directors breathing down your neck. This is the only way for you to save your job. This is the only way for you to save your reputation. Screw Ed. He's probably already dead. I've got another 14 people who can control this mission. And just in case, I've paid the Russian cosmonaut $50,000 to undo the hack that Nick had done for Ed so I can launch the space station from where I am now.
Yeah. I feel like that would have been everything we described. I think it would have been much more powerful than where we're at right now. What has taken a little bit of a backseat is the Margot issue, right? I mean, we see Alita asking Bill. So she's obviously not dropping it. And I have to give good credit then. It's good that they kind of inserted that into this episode so it doesn't totally go cold. I think that's kind of the appropriate amount of emphasis she would have put on this issue in this particular episode. There's obviously a rescue mission, but oh, by the way, Bill, have you heard anything about this? I think that was the right tone for this episode.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I'm really worried. If Margot doesn't get her just desserts, I'm going to be really upset.
As will I. I would actually prefer if Margot defected to Russia to be with Sergei and to save herself, and the Russian cosmonauts would defect to the U.S.
Oh, what a great double defection. That would be so good, too.
And each side kind of demands that they give the other ones back,
this could be the case, right? It's like
because Russia's like, hey, like we want these two dudes back, and Ellen is like, well, like, are you going to like send Margot back? You
so Space
accepted
Command,
Margot.
Space Command, the Russians kind of tell the cosmonauts up there that, listen, that baby is our property, our national property now. So what I want you to do is I want you to start indoctrinating Kelly, use the Vietnam communism angle, do whatever you can. And by the way, since you're going to be the ones you're the only medical guys capable of taking care of her now.
Yeah.
That baby is yours. And by yours, I mean ours as in Mother Russia's.
Dude, can I just blow your mind? Get ready.
All right,
if Ed would have died, Kelly would have been so upset at Dev and Helios for their lack of focus on Ed's life. She would have been like, you know what? Why should I be an American? You guys turned your back on my father. He was buried. You guys were searching for water. You showed all you care about is corporate profit. I can't be part of such a capitalist society. I'm a communist. I'm going to Russia.
Yeah, and guess what? This baby's coming with me.
Baby's coming with me.
So they do, I don't know. The Space Command says something along the lines like, that baby is ours. I need you to do something. And then like that becomes the straw that breaks the camel's back for the cosmonauts. And they're just like, and then, they sit down, they have a heart to heart with each other and they say, listen, we were dead in the water. Can't do this to that baby.
Yep.
They saved us.
Yes.
We've been working against them, but they still gave us a place to sleep. They gave us food to eat. They gave us rations.
Yes.
We can't do this anymore. This is wrong. This is not the Russia I believe in anymore. I'm going to defect, and I think you should defect with me. Simultaneously, Margot gets found out on Earth. Alita dogs them. And Margot calls up the Russian in the Helios command, the head of Russia. And she says, I have all the information you could possibly want, and I will bring your space program back to the 21st century.
Yep.
I'm jumping ship with you. Take me to Moscow. Take me to Sergei. I think that makes season 4 all the more exciting.
If that was the season finale, you see Margot on a plane flying to Moscow. Yeah, you see Kelly having like a conference call with like the Russian officials, and you see the two cosmonauts like shedding their pink suits and donning like
the Russian flag from their thing in a show of solidarity.
Yes, and then Kelly's the only Russian, right?
Oh man. And honestly, I mean, look, again, no disrespect to Cynthia Wu, but her character, Kelly's character, is neither here nor there. She's met Pavel for 3 weeks. She's fallen madly in love with him. She's having his baby, and like this, it seems too fast. It seems way too fast.
Especially
it doesn't happen, but come on.
I would say the issue is she's not some sorority girl at the University of Alabama drinking beer who like got too tipsy because a guy gave her compliments. She's lived in Antarctica for a long time. She's so dedicated and focused.
She's a scientist first.
Yes. And nothing Alexei did apart from kind of listening to her radio station.
Yeah.
It's they didn't go through any like traumatic event together. It would have been different if they were like stuck in a hab for like a week, like quarantining, or a month quarantining, and they really like got to know each other or like depend on each other. They didn't have any event, honestly, that kind of did this. It just like, I agree with you. It happened way too fast.
It was so ham-fisted.
Yeah.
And it's just...
And it kind of diminishes her. You kind of, I mean, this sounds sexist as hell. The dude is always going to try to be, getting his space girlfriend, right? Kelly was the one who was supposed to be more objective about the fact that this was her life's goal. She begged Danielle for this, right? She got the seat. She turned down her father. And now in space, she's on Mars. She's going to like engage in this behavior. It seems so cognitive dissonance, not Kelly, right?
Yeah. Oh, I just thought of it. I just thought of the inciting incident. It could be that the Russians don't want the Americans to have this baby, and so the Russian Space Command is like, slip her some pills that'll force the baby to miscarry.
Whoa.
And then the Russians are like, okay, that's a step too far. I'm not doing that.
That's good.
Right? Because the Russians on Earth are afraid that if the Americans have a baby on Mars, it'll be the first Martian American baby. And so they'll have a claim to the entire planet.
Yeah. Oh, man. Dude, that's smart.
Right? And then the Russians are like, I can't do that because the father was also Russian. You have to think practically. Yeah. And then the Russians go, we can't do this. This is not what I signed up for.
So Kelly defects because no one saves her father. The Russians defect because they're uncomfortable killing a baby, right? Margot defects because she's going to be found out. And that is the season finale of 3 defections. And then Kelly's like, finds out what the Russians did. And she kind of takes her defection back. But maybe she made like this broadcast, just like the gay guy made a broadcast. Maybe she makes a broadcast and she renounces her citizenship. And suddenly it's like international incident. She can't take that back so easily. I love it. Why can't this?
In all of the For All Mankind seasons on a practical basis, episode 10 has always ended up with things wrapping up nicely, right? For the season. So I don't see any questions being left about the end of this mission. What I do see, so for example, I do see if, for example, Margot defects or if the Russians defect, I think that will be sewed up nicely so that it's just done. We may revisit that in forward seasons, but I don't think that they'll leave it as a quote unquote cliffhanger because that's not the way this show has ended.
Too bad.
No, and that's fine. To be honest, that's also fine because it avoids the drama of will they, won't they, this, that. And then they'll just be like, look, this happened. Now let's deal with the entire next season with the repercussions. And that's exactly what we saw with Margot's betrayal, right? We know that she was kind of on this path of maybe having to betray the Americans. And that's how that last season ended. But it ended nicely, which is to say that there were no questions, no lingering questions. And this season has been all about the repercussions of that. I don't know if there's going to be so many defections. I don't see Kelly defecting, especially with her father there and with her father now really being the only family that she knows. I don't see her abandoning him. I don't see her abandoning that. If we're going to talk about defections, if there's definitely going to be a defection, it's going to be, most logically, it would be the Russian cosmonauts defecting towards Helios / NASA.
Yeah.
Most logically, because now they're vastly outnumbered. I think there's only 2, maybe 3 Russians left, and that's it.
Yeah.
They have their mission has been more or less an abject failure in every way, every regard. And in terms of Margot defecting, I don't know how this plays out. Does she defect? I think between you and me, I think that would be great and spicy because it allows her to maintain her villain status.
I don't think she does, but I guess the wild card for me is what happens with Ellen. Because I would think...
let's do this. Yeah.
I would think that if Ellen was not in play, like if the presidency was out of this, I would say that Margot would be found out and would step down, and that would be the end of it. Here, there's kind of the option that either Ellen replaces her to kind of take the pressure off of her own political issues and, launches this big what do you call it? Not sabotage, but what do you call it? When people are giving away secrets, espionage, right?
Espionage, yeah.
She launches this big espionage investigation, right? And she basically uses Margot and what's happening with NASA as her way to kind of deflect all the attention on her. As you mentioned, she can't leave the presidency and become the head of NASA. That's first of all, it's not the right career progression. And secondly, if she has to leave in such a
if she falls under
scandalous
disgrace,
fashion.
she can't be in,
she's not going to take over. Yeah. And especially something so high profile that's just been left by someone, who was involved in a scandal herself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this way, I'm not really sure what happens to Margot.
You know what could happen with Ellen? She becomes co-CEO with Dev.
I mean, that's possible, but as of right now, if you just took a snapshot of the show, there's no link to them at all, right?
Except for the fact that they're both space, like she's an astronaut and likes space, and that he's in the same sector. That's the only real relationship.
What they probably could have done is for the past separate episodes, have her like meeting with Dev and saying, and Dev's like, hey, NASA's too powerful. Like, you need to support the private sector. This is part of your jobs bill. He should have been like meeting with her or with Larry, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And he should have been like ingratiating himself with the White House more. And like, unbeknownst to NASA, the White House was kind of helping them be successful. It was part of their jobs bill. It was their big thing saying, see, the private sector can be successful and blah, 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 blah. And yes, that would kind of give them the landing pad. If Ellen and Larry wanted to leave, they could say, look, we're not going to run again. Space has always been our passion. We're just going to leave. And that's the deal that they cut with like the vice president. Say, hey, we'll step down. We'll say that this isn't our passion. We've always been passionate about space.
We'll endorse you for the next run.
We'll endorse you. We'll go to Helios. Deal? And you don't bring up all of our Larry's nonsense.
Yeah.
That's not a bad deal to cut.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I used to like Larry, but he needs to get off his high horse. I like that he was lecturing Ellen about, being about not showing discretion by visiting Pam when he was the one in the White House having an affair.
Yeah. I mean, that's true, but I mean, this thing with Ellen I thought was a little bit unnecessary. First of all, when they met, where were they? They weren't in DC. They were in Texas.
Pam is in Texas, yeah.
So where's Pam's house now? Now she lives in DC area?
No, she went to Texas. Remember, she said, we're going to Andrews Air Force Base. We're taking a flight out. I think the implication was that she flew from DC to
right. I missed
Texas.
that. Good call. Good catch. All right. So, but anyway, I didn't think it was necessary for Ellen to go back to Pam and rehash all this love of my life. You didn't leave me a note. And I just thought that was unnecessary given all the other high stakes that we have going on Mars. I thought Pam was in the past, but I think I mentioned it. Like, I think they're going to bring Pam back. Pam.
Mm-hmm. That was on you as well. Yeah.
And now Pam's back.
And she's back.
And I don't think that's a one episode. I think that we're onto something where we say they're going to cut a deal with the VP, say, we won't run again. We'll endorse you. We'll say that we want to start a family. Space has always been our dream. Helios is in danger. We don't want the Russian program to be better than us. Yeah. We know we can't go to the government because that's weird for a president. So we're going to buy Helios. We'll take it over. You don't say anything about our nonsense and we'll do our thing. And then Ellen says, hey, Pam, good news. I'm moving to DC and let's be together.
Yep. Or, unbeknownst to us, Helios has a launch pad in Texas already.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll be closer, right?
Oh, yeah. You're right. Texas. Do you think there's any likelihood that Pam sells out Ellen?
Doubtful. I don't see it. I don't see it only because she would have had so many opportunities to do so by now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the only way it would have happened is if after this, Ellen makes like this very strong anti-gay statement and Pam's like, what are you doing? Like Ellen does this to kind of save the presidency and like save Larry a little bit. And Pam's like, you know what? I've just had enough of this. Like now you're totally like, because Pam made this one statement, like, I thought you were going to do things that were better for people like us, And now if she would hear a statement like that, this ultra-conservative, anti-gay statement, Pam would be like, you know what? That's enough. Now I'm going to go to the press.
But I really like that line about what Ellen said, right? She's like, listen, it's also about being practical in what you can achieve.
Yeah. I mean, that's a statement. I agree that's in the eye of the beholder. And I thought it was a little bit judgy of Pam to say, hey, you should just do this. You're the president. Like, you can do whatever you want.
But that's not how the government works, right? Yeah. And the fact is that otherwise we would have so many different changes. But, you can't just be like, well, nope, gay people are totally okay now. Everything's fine. Yeah.
So I thought that was a little bit judgy by Pam and not really fair on Ellen. So overall, I feel like I've got more sympathy for Ellen than I do for Pam on this thing. But I mean, I think that's why we raised this topic last. There's so much stuff that's going on Mars. And to be honest, we could triple the amount of stuff going on Mars. And that's where I'm a little bit disappointed in this, is that we need more people. I renew this request. Yeah. We still don't have more people, right? We could have had like special geologist, right? Introduced by NASA for this episode, and like, who's this guy? And it's, I'm making this up, Kevin Costner or someone, right? Who comes in as his geological expert, and they're the special consultant to NASA. And now this person is hired by Helios. They know how to dig, and they're going to renew the efforts. And this guy's going to go to Mars. Like there's opportunities if you need to introduce people that it's not just an accident. People don't get introduced accidentally. You need to write the storyline to introduce people. Yeah, Things are happening on Mars. Find a way.
They don't even need to introduce people on Earth. I mean, we haven't met the entire Helios crew that's up there on the ship. Yeah. All of a sudden, they introduce 2 new characters. We would fully understand that, hey, we don't know how many people are actually on the ship. They said they could accommodate 15 plus the flight crew. Yeah. We've only met the flight crew. So there's got to be at least 15 people you can introduce to us. And we're not going to, sit there and do a head count. If there's 16, if there's 20, none of us is going to care. Yep.
There's this white-haired guy, kind of like older gentleman, that we just kind of see him sitting in the desk. Don't know his name.
That was the Caesar salad guy, right?
Caesar salad guy. And there's, and the lady who's growing all the hydroponics. Yeah. Haven't heard from her again. I mean, okay, maybe she's not going to be a main character, but she could be doing something, right? She could be sabotaging the food supplies. She could be testing.
Or she could be the one discovering you can grow plants on Mars. She could be doing something to help God, can you imagine if before they leave, they were like, okay, we're going to plant a few plants around, on Mars, see what happens. And then next season we come back to Mars and it's like a lush green planet, or there's patches of growth and food already ready to go. Yeah. They could have.
Yeah, they could be throwing a bunch of seeds down these lava tubes and see what happens, right? Yeah. And next thing you know, you've got like this.
If you've already got liquid water on there, what else do you need?
I guess I would say that is, despite the fact that I love For All Mankind, I love it more for the storylines that it gives us. And I can't think of any other show that we're watching where there's enough opportunities for twists and turns. So I feel like there's a lot of lost opportunities on For All Mankind, where this could be such a thrilling show. And I feel like they're passing over opportunities to like insert more plot or characters.
Yep. I agree. Really, I think this also is the fault of the showrunners. It's only, I fully agree with you only because they specifically said this is a 6 or 7 season show. If at the end of the 3rd season, if you hadn't told us that, then I would be a lot less stressed out about what characters are going to be in or out for the next few seasons, right? Because you don't know how many seasons this is going to run. Maybe there's a natural ending there. Maybe there isn't. But right now, 3 seasons in out of 7, if you're telling me that these are all the characters you have, well, I'm sorry. They're not all going to survive physically due to age by the end of the 7th season.
I mean, it's tough then to start season 4 and to introduce like new characters in season 4. It's better to kind of like sprinkle
at least
them
lay
in.
the ground for work here. Yeah. Right. They did that in season 1 with Alita. Yeah. Right. So when she was introduced in season 2, it wasn't a shocker. And I know there was only one character, but you could have easily done that with a couple more people.
Yeah. I'm looking at the IMDb for All Mankind, and I agree. I mean, we're still Ed, Gordo, gone. Margot, maybe gone soon. Karen, Ellen, Danielle, Bill. Bill has such a small role. Tracy's
but I really like Bill. I have to say I like Bill. Yeah. What would be good is if Alita leaves NASA because she's so upset with the Margot situation. Or maybe she's forced to leave because the government decides to clean house. Yeah. And they get rid of everyone in case there's a NASA, a foreign infestation. Yeah. And so she's forced to leave and has to go to Helios to work with Bill, which again would be nice because I like the dynamic between the two of them.
We haven't heard from General Bradford, right, for a long time. We're just not getting a lot of, we're just very narrow on the folks we've got. Anyway, let's see what happens in the season finale next week. I'm really excited about it. I'm more excited to talk about it.
No, we've got 2 more weeks. We've got 2 more weeks.
Oh, there's 2 more this season?
Yeah, this was number 8. We've got 9 and 10.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I'm saying is this.
Then I feel next week's going to be a little bit of a downer.
A little bit of a downer, or it's going to set up a lot of the episode for... It's going to raise the stakes so that the stakes can be met in episode 10.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's going to set it's going to set the table.
Karen is going to unleash on Ed and tell her the truth because he's not dying anymore, but he's obviously hurt, and she sees this as a wake-up call to kind of, admit the truth. And it's going to set up a lot of tension on the space station with Danny and Ed on one side. Then I think the child is going to be, the potential baby is going to be one of the stakes that gets raised. So the Margot situation definitely is going to be set up for closure for the episode 10.
So let's make a few predictions. Mm-hmm. And they're really, really predictions right now. Ed and Karen get together, or they're going to fight?
Stay the same. I think I don't think get back together.
Okay. Margot, she weathers the storm and she gets rid of Alita, or she is found out and somehow has to leave?
Margot's got to go.
All right. Ellen stays in the presidency or leaves? I
think she leaves.
Without Larry. Larry, obviously, they break up, right?
I mean, exactly. Yeah. They either leave and continue maintaining that fake life that they had before, or they have a divorce and do whatever.
We ever see Molly again? Yes or no?
God, I hope so.
I don't know, though. I mean, it's been so long.
I don't know either, but I'd love for her to run NASA.
I'd love for her to run NASA. Yep. All right. Until next week. Let's see.
Indeed. Things are getting spicy. Wait. I like it.
Pete, some super, super good points today. Thank you.
No, likewise. Thanks, guys. Reach out to us, aloha@filmsandstuffpodcast.com, or tweet at us at F&S Podcast. Tell us what you think is going to happen in For All Mankind. Tell us if you're team Karen or if you're team Ed.
And if you want to hire us to be a writing consultant for your characters, we are available.
100%.
Thank you, dude. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.